The young people who contributed their CAMS journey stories for this video felt unable to be in the videos themselves, and so as a result have written down their stories and they will be read by a worker. I joined CAMS when I was 11 as a result of self-harm and social anxiety. After my initial appointment, I waited at least 4 months, maybe more. In the meantime, my dad and mum's mum had died. This made me more depressed, but self-harm less, straight after. When I finally got a counsellor, they left soon after, however, and we were not told where she was or what had happened or when they were coming back. Having social anxiety meant retelling my story many times was hard. When I got a new counsellor, they would often be late and not apologise. The sessions were only limited, and as a result of being bullied, this was being very tough for me. I would find it hard to talk about it unless I was asked. A few years later, I wanted to go back to CAMS to work through the bullying and my self-esteem, however was denied as I didn't meet the criteria. In the future, I would want to join again, possibly, maybe restart counselling and to try and improve the experience. I think the waiting time should decrease and have more or no limited sessions to have a better communication with counsellor and client. I will now read journey number 2. When I was 5, me and my family, mum, little sister and stepdad number 2, moved from St Albans to Torquay. From day 1 at my primary school, I was ridiculed for my weight, hair colour and the fact that I was totally different to everyone else. I would sit on my own and play with toy animals or would just sit and be silent. As the bullying worsened and things got worse at home, a few teachers began to express their concerns about my behaviour. I had only 2 friends at that time, my dog Brooke and my year 1 teacher. As my friendship with my teacher grew, I began to see him more as a father figure. Nothing was really done to try and help me until year 2 when a teacher told my mum that I was showing signs of autistic behaviour. She recommended reaching out to CAMS. Mum did as such, explaining my situations, and we were turned away for the first time. So after all of this, the bullying continued, and in year 3 my dog was taken away after my mum was hit by a car. This was also around the time that my stepdad started to become aggressive towards me and my mum. Losing my dog caused me to have a severe mental breakdown, and I went into a lockdown where the only person I talked to was my teacher. This was the second time my mum reached out to CAMS, and again we were turned away. Later that year my mum left stepdad number 2 and met stepdad number 3. Everything was kind of okay up until year 6, without the bullying included, even though we were turned away from CAMS a further 3 times. The transition from year 6 to year 7 was a horrific one. A few months before my SATs test I started to self-harm. I hid this from everyone for 2 or 3 years. I was still being bullied and I began to binge eat and make myself sick after I ate. In year 8 I tried to kill myself. My mum found me in the bathtub with several people's names cut into my skin in various places. I was taken into hospital by an ambulance where I was treated for my cuts and put on the ward. I had to stay there for 2 weeks until a crisis team worker eventually came to see me. After this, it took a further 2 to 3 weeks for my first CAMS meeting. Throughout my time in CAMS, I repeatedly made bonds with my practitioners, which were then in turn broken. In 2014, the teacher died on Christmas Eve and he drowned trying to save his dog. This led to my second suicide attempt. Pretty much all CAMS did was up my medication dose. I was also diagnosed with depression, anxiety, PTSA, anger management and manic psychotic episodes. I wasn't even considered for an autism diagnosis until 2015, when I was put on a waiting list for 6 months. By the time CAMS gave me the autism diagnosis, it was 2016. I was still self-harming at the time and had gotten into an abusive relationship in which I again tried to kill myself. At this point, the young person made a decision that actually she didn't want to continue with the end of her story, but she did want this first part to be used in the video to highlight the initial struggles that her and her family got to try and access the CAMS team.